Hurricane Beryl heads for Jamaica after impacting the southeastern Caribbean, leaving at least 7 dead people. Palestinian authorities highlighted that at least 560 Palestinian civilians, including minors, have been murdered by Israel in the occupied West Bank since October 2023. And in Mauritania, at least 3 people were killed in clashes between security forces and demonstrators during post-election protests. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos. I'm from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Jamaica is getting ready for the impact of powerful Hurricane Beryl, which is set to hit the country with potentially deadly winds. Prime Minister Andrew Holness asked the population to take this dangerous weather event seriously. Beryl is the 3rd hurricane to plummet the island in 40 years. The National Center informed Beryl is approaching with maximum sustained winds near 145 miles per hour. The passage of the storm through the eastern Caribbean has left at least 7 deaths and several others missing, in addition to another 3 on the coast of Venezuela, where its effect caused heavy rainfall, wind, and storm surges. All leaders of CARICOM are being briefed on the devastating capacity of Beryl. Thus, Jamaica has enforced an island-wide curfew from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. local time to thwart major damages.
CARICOM heads this morning, we were briefed on the destructive impact of the hurricane on our Eastern Caribbean sister islands. We expressed our solidarity and willingness to support, even as we make our own preparations. Jamaica must take this hurricane seriously. Early this morning, the Cabinet reviewed our plans to manage the threat of the hurricane, and a caucus of Parliament was also briefed on our state of readiness and the provisions for emergency response.
And as Hurricane Beryl continues moving through the Caribbean, the extreme weather phenomenon heavily impacted the island of Barbados in the Lesser Antilles. To tell us in depth about the damages caused by the storm and the recovery efforts underway, Prime Minister Mia Mottley gave teleSUR collaborator Mikron Robertson an exclusive interview. Let's see.
teleSUR English in Quito, Ecuador, Prime Minister. The first question, well, you're here in Six Men's St. Peter. How do you assess, what are your thoughts on the damage assessment?
Well, we've received extensive damage to our coastal infrastructure and coastal assets. Our fishing industry has been decimated. Our coastal assets and infrastructure are completely compromised. I don't think I've been told that there's virtually no villa on this coast or hotel that has a beach on the west coast, and as you know, that's what pays our bills for tourism. It is still early because we only started to move around yesterday afternoon after the all clear, and hence today we're continuing. So I would say that we need probably another day or 2 to be able to assess fully the scale of the damage, but it is significant. Having said that, we have to give thanks and count our blessings because it could be far worse. It could have also affected us with the housing stock of the country. It didn't on this occasion, other than about certainly less than 100 houses. So the damage has been predominantly coastal, but that is very expensive, as you know, in order to build back.
Final question. We've been promised an above average hurricane season here for Barbados. What does this mean for the island from your perspective?
Well, we've got to keep building resilience. Regrettably, we're not where we need to be yet, and that's why you hear us calling all the time for new financing instruments for climate crisis, and also for loss and damage, for adaptation, and effectively that will help us in the medium term. The loss and damage fund, if it was operational, could have helped us now, but it is not yet operational. With respect to the adaptation funding, that is needed to build out assets for greater resilience. But before we even get there, we have July, August, September, October, November, and possibly December to go through. and therein lies the problem. So we are rebuilding even as we speak now, but with one eye on the rebuilding and one eye on the fact that we may be compromising whatever we rebuild even now. So we have to walk and chew.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister.
We stay on topic. On Tuesday, Hurricane Beryl downgraded to a Category 4 as it passed through the Caribbean on its way to Jamaica, but it still emerges as a dangerous threat for the area. Beryl left at least 7 people dead as it passed through the open waters of the Caribbean Sea. In this sense, after the devastation in Grenada, the Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell of that country reported that the death toll could rise in the island and in neighboring Carriacou, from which they have lost communication. On the other hand, St. Vincent and the Grenadines also reported on Monday the death of 1 person as a result of the hurricane, which reached Category 5 status at the time. According to the U.S. National Hurricane Center, Beryl will remain a life-threatening hurricane as it passes over Jamaica, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. According to information from the United States National Hurricane Center, Beryl is expected to begin to lose intensity, but will remain strong as it passes over Jamaica on Wednesday, near the Cayman Islands on Thursday, and near Yucatan in Mexico on Friday. In Haiti, the hydrometeorological unit declared an orange and yellow alert due to the threat of Hurricane Beryl. According to the authority, the yellow alert will be in effect in 3 departments of the country and the orange alert in 4 others. In this sense, the agency detailed that the measures were adopted since this phenomenon continues its trajectory towards the southeastern Caribbean islands, which represents a possibility of rains, strong winds, and tidal waves in the south and southeastern department of the country. In this context, the National Risk and Disaster Management System urged the population to follow the reports and guidance of the authorities and to avoid all coastal activities in the southern coast of the country. And Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, flew Wednesday to Union Island, one of the most devastated territories of the Caribbean nation after the passage of Hurricane Beryl. During the flights, Gonsalves could have a general view from the air of all the affected areas, including the islands of Canwe, Manio, and Palm Island. Let's see.
View of Canawan, Nairo, and Union Island from the air. And Union Island, of course, is the most devastating spectacle. Of course, Nairo is very bad too. And so too is Canawan and Palm Island. But Union is a field of devastation. There's only the odd building that is not severely damaged or destroyed. The roofs of all these buildings are gone. The building of the terminal of the airport, the roof is gone, and the building itself compromised. The hospital, other state facilities, the schools. There is a sense of shock among people, yet at the same time, a determination to rebuild. Some, of course, in the interim, many would like to leave, and some came out today on the fast ferry and also on Medway Express. I'd ask that they take out persons. We're going to build it back. We're going to build it back better and stronger. We're going to turn this terrible setback into an advance. Some people, of course, a significant number of people say they're not going anywhere, they're staying here, they're building back here. I met a woman.
Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the South. On Tuesday, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, condemned the messages of hate expressed by some opponents towards Vice President Delcy Rodriguez. The head of state described as outrageous the hatred and comments directed at the executive vice president made by the fascist of the far right regarding the accident she suffered while carrying out an inspection in the areas affected by the climatic situation generated by Hurricane Beryl across the Caribbean. The incident occurred when a tree fell on the vehicle that was transporting her and her work team. As a result, they sustained injuries, which have been treated, and all are currently safe. The president warned of the dangers of fascist rhetoric spreading to the government and denounced the hateful comments.
Tengo que mostrarlo.
I have to make it public because hatred outrages, the comments made by both fascists and the right fascists outrage, they outrage our people, because there we are serving the people in need, and where are these fascists who post these comments? What are they doing? Where are they?
In other news, the virtual meeting between the delegations of the governments of Venezuela and the United States has ended. Through his X account, the president of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, commented on the rejection of the distortions that spokesperson of the U.S. government have repeatedly published about this dialogue. He also warned that Venezuela will always respond with the truth and insisted that the dialogue should be limited to what was agreed in Qatar. In order to continue recovering mutual trust and relations between governments, the principles of self-determination, sovereignty, and reciprocity must be respected. After this first meeting, it was agreed the willingness of both governments to work together to build trust and improve relations and to maintain communications in a respectful and constructive manner. In other news, on Tuesday, the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken received in Washington the Prime Minister of Haiti, Gary Conille, to evaluate the arrival of the multinational security support mission in the Caribbean country. In this way, Conille attended the meeting along Minister of Foreign Affairs Dominique Dupuy, while Blinken was accompanied by his staff for Latin American issues. At the meeting, Biden administration reiterated its support to the new Caribbean government, despite the fact that the United Nations reported that it has received less than 25% of the budget committed to Haiti, and also denounced that despite the presence of foreign troops, 20 people have been killed in the last hours by criminal groups in the country.
And we have the deployment now of the multinational security support mission to help the Haitian National Police regain full control of critical parts of Port-au-Prince and the country.
We think the next few weeks and months will be quite interesting, but we're confident with the establishment of the Presidential Council, the establishment of this new government, we're going to be able to take on these challenges straight on.
Now we move on to other topics. On Wednesday, Palestinian authorities highlighted that at least 560 Palestinian civilians, including minors, have been murdered by Israel in the occupied West Bank since October 2023. In addition to these killings, more than 5,300 people have been wounded as a result of the genocide being carried out by the Israeli occupation army. In this context, the most recent attack killed 4 people in the Nur Shams refugee camp, raising the death toll to more than 37,000 in all of Palestine. Meanwhile, the War and Settlement Resistance Committee denounced settler expansion plans by the Zionist regime in both West Bank and settlements and the occupied East Jerusalem. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, Israeli occupation forces killed 7 civilians while 17 more were wounded during a drone attack in the Al-Shuhaya east of the city of Gaza. The assault occurred when a group of civilians were trying to return to the neighborhood. In this context, Palestinian authorities denounced continuous bombings against civilian targets in the area as part of the genocide that the Tel Aviv regime is perpetrating against the Gaza Strip and the occupied territories, during which they have extensively destroyed Palestinian buildings and homes. Now we have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and also share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. If Ukrainian forces dare to launch attacks along their border. The head of state reaffirmed his intention to prevent any escalation or aggravation of the conflict. But Lukashenko warned Kiev that it must stop playing with fire. In the framework of the Belarusian Independence Day, a parade is being held, which has become, according to the president, a recognition of the professionalism and dedication of the soldiers, border guards, and special service agents. In this context, Lukashenko asserted that they are ready to neutralize any false flag operations attempted by Ukraine and its partners. On Tuesday, Mauritanian authorities reported that at least 3 people have been killed in clashes between security forces and demonstrators during post-election protests. In this way, local media reported that an unknown number of people were also injured during Monday's demonstrations after President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani was declared the winner of the elections. Precisely, candidate Biram Abeid, who came in second place, denounced the election as a massive fraud and called for peaceful demonstrations and rallies, which he said were suppressed by the police. Meanwhile, in Kenya, protests against the economic reforms continue in several cities across the country, while police repression has left 270 people currently in custody. In this regard, the largest and most complex protest took place in Nairobi, the country's capital. In this city, the number of arrests reached 204. The so-called Z generation, who called for these protests, repudiate the economic reform proposed by the executive. According to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the last day of demonstrations left dozens of people arrested. Many of those arrested are accused of being suspected of being involved in alleged criminal activities.
Who never, ever fails to deliver.
And at UEFA Euro 2024, the 8 teams that have qualified for the quarterfinals have been set, and a new round of intriguing matches will kick off on Friday. In this way, Spain will face Germany, Portugal will take on France, while on Saturday, Switzerland will meet England, and the Netherlands will face on Turkey. It should be noted that among the final top 8, the most recent winners of this event are Spain in 2008 and 2012 and Portugal in 2016. In this regard, it is worth noting the favorite Germany have not won any Euro Cup since 1996, while the Netherlands did in 1988. And finally, we note that England won its only title in distant 1966. Let's find out what some of the protagonists have to say about the clashes ahead of the semifinals.
It's a very exciting week. I think the whole journey is also very exciting for me. I think we expect yes, a very good team with big names. So yeah, we want to do our best and show.
We are Dutch, and in Holland we have to play well. We have to play offensive, and to win is the most difficult way. But we know that. But I think the whole performance today was outstanding, and that's what we need to have a chance to continue in this tournament. This is the level. If you go down in that level, then we don't reach the final.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.